Hey, practice owners. We are back for a bonus edition.
Woo!
As if 10 episodes of Gary Katie's not enough, we have a bonus edition here. We promised it at the end of our $1 Million Dentistry series, Gary Katie's best-selling book. Chapter 10, the last one. And it really, I think, what it does is kind of takes the best out of here, distills it down into some nuggets that I think you still need to read the book. We'll tell you here at the end how to get your own copy. And you still need to follow along the blueprint. But there are some concepts I think that as we went along, Gary and I realized were important enough to do a bonus series. So Gary, we're back.
So good to be back with you, Steve. I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, we got to keep these things going, man. Just because we did a year, doesn't mean that we're stopping here. And I love this bonus session called Find the Money, Get the Money, and Keep the Money. And, we want to be clear here. It's finding it, getting it, and keeping it ethically and doing it in a way that is of service to people, makes a difference for people, creates value for people. They say yes, and then they pay you, and they're happy about receiving that. And, as we come down to this time of year, it's really important that we really get our money right so that we can be in the fight and make a difference and continue to grow our businesses and live a full lifestyle. So that's the game today.
Well, you just said something very important. It's the get right with the money. And, as a business person, that's why you're in business. You're in business to be profitable and make money, whether it's a candy store, whether it's, you're a tire dealer or whatever it is. That's the reason you're doing that. Now, you can really love tires, but you're there to, make more than a paycheck. And that's why you started your business. Dentists start out thinking they're dentists, and they come out of dental school and they're thrilled because now they're a dentist. And then about 84%, about 8.5 out of 10 decide to become entrepreneurs by default. And the struggle, you and I have talked about it many, many times, is the money part. There's this weird thing that goes on in their head where they think, if I talk about money, I'm somehow doing a disservice to my patients. When the two things really they're connected in a way, but really disconnected. The measure of your patients is clinical. The measure of your business is really the bottom line. And so one of the things I think we did really well in our $1 Million Dentistry ramp up here is get that idea of getting the money right in your head. So when we say find the money, get the money, and keep the money, you're right on. It doesn't mean squeeze more out of your patients, hammer them until they buy. And so I'd like to take that off the table right here at the beginning, is that being profitable is not a bad word. It is why you're in business. And if you don't want to be in business, go work for a big DSO. They'll worry about this, and you take a big paycheck and get a bonus and get in the president's club and take a trip every year. And it's awesome, but you don't get to run your own business. So I think that's where we sort of start with. And I think let's just jump right in and hit those three things. So when you say find the money, what does that mean?
Yeah, there's hidden money all over dental practices. It's like one of the reasons why I'm in this business, because, you can be half as good as you need to be and still make tons of money and help a lot of people. So, I like getting into, playing fields that are like that. And, dentistry is an amazing business. And if you just get a few things right, you can be extremely wealthy, debt-free, clinically satisfied, and what I call time luxury. You can have the luxury of free time. All of that is built around how do you create value for people? And when you create value for people, staying out of the way of self-sabotaging when people want to pay you, right? That's another facet of this game. And then really running a business where it's just the same as losing weight. You expend more calories than you take in, you're going to lose weight. If you take more calories in than you expend, you're going to gain weight. And the same is true with money. If you take more money in than you spend, you're going to be profitable. If you spend more money than you take in, you're not going to be profitable. It's that simple. But most people, when they get started, they think they have to work more. There's a lot of myths here. They have to work more hours. They have to work harder. They have to, there's just these piling of limiting beliefs and myths that have been existing in the environment. And I want to just squash them all. And like, oh, if I just had new patients, Steve, that's another myth.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
new patients are going to be the answer to my everything. And it's just not. Let's just keep it really crazy simple. I'm going to share with you a tool that I invented that is a game-changing tool, Steve, because it really highlights where the money is. Again, step number one is find it. Well, most people are trying to find it through external marketing systems. The first and easiest place to go, the least expensive, is inside the practice. You'd agree with that, right, Steve?
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's already there. And most people, I mean, if I'm doing workshops and I go, how do you grow your business? 9 out of 10 are going to say new patients. I'm going to show you a way to find it inside your practice. So I'm going to go right to our website. And on the website, do you see my website? It says, what's your true revenue potential? Do you see that, Steve?
Yes. Yes.
All right, cool. It says, and so this is right at, you'll see it here, nextlevelpractice.com. All you do is you click get started. Then you say how many locations I have. I have one. How many associates? I have none. I'd like to have one at least, but I'm not there yet. I don't think I have enough of whatever I don't think I have enough of. That's that poverty mentality. I'm going to say I have 4 chairs and I've been in practice for 20 years. And right now I'm doing 750. Okay. Doing 750. And I have 2,000 patients. And then I figured that out. And then I'm just going to put my name in, and then I'm going to put my email, and you can take my email down, and please always feel free to email me. I always love to chat with your community, Steve. And then you submit it and you get immediate feedback. By our calculations, your practice should be making about $3 million a year gross. You're operating at 25% capacity. This does the calculation for you that allows you to see where that you have revenue, and then it goes down, and it talks to you about closing the gap, and then you can schedule a call with me, which I love talking. Every month I set aside 5 hours for the Profitable Dentist community members, and they get a chance to really get on for a half hour with me, and we really discuss it. Like I just did a cursory fast overview, but so often a practice, Steve, is operating at 50% or between 33 and 50% capacity. Why? Because they're not looking at the 2 other ways to build their practice: patient retention and case acceptance. When you fix those 2, think of it like a boat, and you got leaking holes. They come in the front and go out the back. What do I mean by that? The average adult will come back twice, only 22% of the time. 22, Steve. Everybody I asked, they anecdotally will say 80%, because those are the ones they see and they think they come back. And then what do you think the case acceptance is? Nationally, 28%. Those 2 numbers are leaking holes in your boat. 22% of people come back twice. Imagine getting that to 80. And then 28% of the treatment presented. And by the way, that's usually at 50% capacity, about how much people present. And we're going to give you a tool on how to get the money next. But that 28 to 67, imagine increasing those 2 numbers: patient retention from 22 to 80, case acceptance from 28 to 67. Now you're dropping new patients into that machine. Oh, you're a rock star. What do you got to say about that, Steve? What do you want to highlight?
Well, so what's interesting is you do a great job of reverse engineering, which a lot of people hear it and don't understand what it means. Fundamentally, it would mean, you take a product, you take a microphone, and you break it apart and you back into how the thing got made, and then you make your own. What
Exactly.
you do is say, here's where your practice should be. That's what I like. I like the potential.
Yep.
And so for a doc who's sitting here saying, $3 million, are you kidding me? I would challenge you. We're going to tell you how to get on a call with Gary here at the end, tell you how to get a copy of the book. But I would challenge you, if you're sitting here thinking, that's impossible, I've been doing this 20 years, I know everything there is, I know where every dollar goes. I would say spend 30 minutes and walk through it. And some of the things you're going to talk about, Gary, there you go. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And really, so I think there's a skepticism that there's some magic or there's some formula. And as we said at the beginning, your dental education ended the day you graduated from dental school. Your entrepreneur education began. And a lot of docs just, what do they say? You don't know what you don't know. So they don't know as they watch this dollar travel through their practice, and it's not enough to pay the bills. The answer is just more patients, more patients, more patients. But you're right. So if you could cut that, the flow of new patients going out the back door, suddenly you need a lot fewer new patients. I think you've proven before when we were going through the book, there are several cases where you don't need a single new patient to increase your revenue and double your profit with not one new patient.
Steve, that equation had 0 new patients in it, 3 million.
Right.
But here's, I want to give you an insight here, a breakthrough that you can have. If you find yourself going, yeah, right. Or if you find yourself going, not everybody needs a crown and a buildup, or 80% is malarkey, you're not ever going to get, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. And if you think you can't, consider it's the myth, limiting belief, or negative self-talk that is justifying your suffering. See, suffering is a natural default place for a lot of people. If you're ready to bust free from the suffering, see, I always say pain is necessary, suffering is optional. If you're ready to bust free, like pain is like, okay, we are gifted pain to say we need to make a change. And pain could be around money, like I'm feeling isolated. I'm shameful. I'm not taking care of my twin 11-year-old boys, and I'm not giving them the life that I know. My integrity's at stake. Those are pain points for your integrity to go, I have to make a change. Now, if you stay in it, that's called suffering. So look, there's always a way out, Steve. There is always a way out. You know my story. We shared it. My wife was throwing me out. I was an alcoholic. My son was in autism at 3. He's now 17. We were told he wasn't going to talk. He's now going to be a sports broadcaster. I'm 13 years sober. And I share those triumphs, not to boast, but to humbly say, we're all dealt cards of BS, of circumstances we don't want. But if you stay in them, that's your choice. And I understand, believe me, I'd rather hang with the devil I know than the unknown devil that might, if I take the chance. So please understand, I have a lot of empathy and compassion if you don't want to step out of it. But if you want to get your hand held, somebody who is non-judgmental will walk you through, to show you through. And then where those limiting beliefs come up, actually, hold you accountable to see something brand new that's possible. I wrote this book. This is my second book. This is the sequel to $1 Million Dentistry. It's called Raise Your Healthy Deserve Level. And the reason why I wrote it is because if you don't think you deserve to create money, and Steve and I are trying to give it to you, you're going to sit here and listen to today's session and go, this is a bunch of malarkey and a bunch of BS. And that's for the guy. And this is one of my favorites, like not the rural practice. It's this for the city practice. The city guy goes, it's not for the city practice, it's for the rural practice. It's not for them. It's for the DSOs. It's for la, la, la. No, it's for you in your underwear. You, the one sitting in your underwear right now, watching this video. And I said that once and I go like, it wasn't a good example. And the guy goes, I don't have it on in the underwear, Steve. Like I was laughing. Anyway, I go, that's way too much information for me. But ultimately, it's like, if you don't think you deserve it, you're not going to listen to this. If you think you deserve it, you're going to pull this toward you and get on my calendar and go, I'm ready, Gar. Let's giddy up and let's go. That's just how it goes, Steve.
And I know one of the things that you do, and this is a lot to unpack for a short episode, but I always think of it as the sort of the journey of $1 through your practice. And dentists don't think of that. So, the dollar comes in because you marketed, somebody at your front desk appointed, somebody, shepherded them into the practice, somebody treatment planned them, somebody, and your dollars are going out the door for supplies and insurance. You're writing off however many dollars for insurance. There's so much of that going on. That's the dollars going out part, or the dollars not coming in part, that as the clinician and the doc, you think you can just hire somebody and, they take care of all that. And they do. And I always try to be careful and say, your team loves you, but it's a job for them. And if it all blows up tomorrow and goes bust because of something, because you just didn't want to deal with it, they go find another job. You file bankruptcy and go home, and it's not a good situation. But if you're doing 750 grand a year, I can promise you somebody is doing that and taking home and keeping twice or three times what you're keeping with the exact same kind of practice. But you don't know what you don't know. There's no secret magic thing. And one of the things you do really well, I know, with your clients is the coaching calls, the accountability. You don't, what do you say? How do you eat an elephant a bite at a time? I know you guys kind of get in there and figure things out. And, your lost revenue locator says you should be doing $3 million. That's about a lot of money coming in. But at the same time, it's about keeping more of that money, which we'll get to here in just a minute. But it starts with knowing that it's possible. And yep. You're right. We had, I know one of your coaching clients very well. We've been to their office together in New London, Ohio, and we talk about them a lot. But I think it's significant. It's a town of 2,200 people. They don't even have a stop light. They have a flashing light where you slow down, but it doesn't change color. It's just always flashing red. And the multiples that he did after just changing how he looked at his practice, that was it. And, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I know you guys work with them very regularly, but to manage that growth, it's to quit looking at your clinical skills and looking at how your business runs, and finding the money. For somebody who's been through business school, we get it. There are all kinds of things. We understand what AR is and how that ratio's off. We understand how customer retention is way more valuable than new. I mean, the cost of, you can do the calculation, the cost of a new patient is 3 to 6 times the cost of just keeping a patient you already have. And then that's not counting the referral piece of it. So those are things that when you're saying, where is the money? You're very good at asking a few questions and then saying, well, here's a good chunk of money right here. You don't have to do anything for. Here's another good chunk of money that's already passing through your practice. Your insurance reimbursements, you're taking 62 insurances when if you took 10, your profit would go up. You keep more of that money. So those are things in finding the money that I think is worth, a few minutes just to challenge. I always say, and again, we'll give you a way to do it here at the end to talk to Gary. Challenge Gary. Just say, hey, you're full of it, and here I am, and here's my situation. And I get a lot of emails back when we do these. And over the past year, we've both gotten a lot of emails where people said, okay, you're right. And it's because they don't know where to start looking. And you do. So how many practices you work with so far?
6,000 over 27 years. Just a joy, man. And, we just expanded. We just got calls from Australia and Austria. We're going overseas as well. It's really, really exciting. But here's the thing, Steve, it doesn't matter where you are. It goes back to, okay, now we found the money, but like, how do I get it? Right. And you don't want dirty money. That's number one. Dirty money is not worth having. Meaning you get it for an unearned reason. And we have this belief where when you share intelligent things with intelligent patients, you have them make intelligent decisions. And the other philosophy point here is this. Steve, I looked at this I used to bring patients, hundreds of patients to the front door, and they would come in, they would go out, they would want a cleaning and go out the back, and then they would do whatever insurance covered. And I was like, I got to get to the root cause of this. And here's the root cause of getting the money. And it's, when was the last time that you purchased something that you didn't think you needed, was going to cost you thousands of dollars, take time out of your day, and be painful physically and financially? We don't purchase like that. But the old model of a dental practice, that's how you're presenting. And that's what your customer is hearing. I don't think I need it. It's not solving any problem because I don't have a problem. Nothing hurts me. It's going to cost me. You just presented a $6,000 case and I don't think I need it. Zero. And then waste time out of my day, money, pain. So I'm like, when I can fix this problem, it's going to be the turning point and the transformation of an entire industry. And I really believe that. And it's actually happened. So the other thing that is a default mechanism, Steve, that really doesn't allow people to get money and have the patient say, do whatever my insurance covers, is what you're trained on in dental school. And I haven't met one dentist that can refute this. They were all trained to find the chief complaint and fix it. Where's the chief complaint? Where the chief complaint? What that does is it creates a patient education system that creates a bureaucracy for the patient to say, do whatever my insurance covers. So we're going to interrupt that and flip the script right now with one simple, easy tool that you're going to have access to and get a copy of. It's called the Healthy Mouth Baseline. So the Healthy Mouth Baseline is a one step in a 5-step series. In our next bonus session, you're going to be able to get the other 4 steps. But for time purposes, I'm going to give you the one thing that's going to get you the money. And that is flipping the script. And the script flipped here, Steve, is this. When you, instead of asking the patient why they came in, now you can still do that because it's important to hear what the patient wants, but they don't always tell you the truth. They're not going to say, hey, I have a 6mm pocket and I need soft tissue care. And hey, I have a cracked tooth. Like they can't even see a crack. They're not going to be able to do any of that. And so, but what they're going to say is like, I want straight teeth. I want white teeth. I want, I don't want bad breath or like things that are like, they can like want based dentistry. And you have a bunch of needs that exist in there, but you can't get to it. And the way we do that is we have you flip the script rather than you asking the patient what they need. You're going to say, great, I understand you want to get white teeth or fresh breath or whatever it is. I want to sit down with you and go through something called the Healthy Mouth Baseline, because what we found is all of our patients did not know what was healthy and what was not. So we got together with our team and we created something called the Healthy Mouth Baseline. May I review it with you? Because we found when our patients understand what's healthy and what's not, then they can make better informed decisions and better choices. So let me share it with you, Steve. It's right here.
I was going to ask, I'm looking here because, this is one of my favorite tools.
Game changer. So it's like patient's name, today's blood pressure, next appointment. You got some of the key things there. And now what you're doing is the issues of gums. I'm going to be looking for plaque, tartar, pockets, bad breath, infection. In your teeth, I'm going to look for decay, broken fillings. Do you get any food traps? Like, you get food stuck when you eat? Yeah, right around this tooth here. Yes. Sensitive teeth, cracked teeth. We're going to take a look at your bite. Do you get headaches? Do you have clenching and grinding? I'm going to look for do you have any jaw pain, any clicking, popping? We also treat something called the airway, how you breathe when you oxygenate at night. Do you have sleeping problems? Do you have dry mouth? Do you snore? Does your wife record you and play it for you in the morning? Or are you sleep divorced where you're not even in the same room with your wife or your husband? And then general overall health, like oral cancer, acid reflux, any lumps or sores. We're going to walk through that. And then you walk through it and then you can talk about this is the impact of those things, because we believe the mouth is the gateway to overall health. And it really can have effect on heart attack, diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's. All these types of chronic diseases are connected to the mouth. You understand that, right? You understand that? Yes. And now as I walk through, I'm going to be looking for these things. I'm going to use an intraoral camera. I'm going to use a certain probe that allows me to know if you're losing bone or, you can possibly lose your teeth. And I'm going to walk around and do that tour. Now, all of a sudden, Steve, you now did something to transform how there's no selling in this. The person's buying. See, once they become aware and they accept that they have a problem, by the way, what I just did was I set you up to present for asymptomatic care. 95% of dentistry, Steve, is asymptomatic. There's no symptoms present. Now they're going to go, oh, I now have a problem. I got to get that fixed. And then you show them irrefutable visual evidence called an intraoral camera. Now all of a sudden, patients are going, how do I get it out of my mouth? Now, when they say, does my insurance cover this? They're in their head going, I have a problem. This guy's going to solve it. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to pay for it. Right. So when someone asks, will my insurance cover it? That's different than you didn't create the problem. You didn't have the buy-in, and they're going, take my insurance because whatever you're telling me, if I don't have to pay for it, I'll do it. I trust you enough for that, but I don't trust you enough to now I know I need to invest in some of these items that you just recommended. So does that make clear sense, Steve?
Yeah, it's a I always think of it, the reason I love it, I think of it as a conversation starter.
Yep.
So when they come in, and being in the practice owner part of it, and this
Yep.
really is difficult for somebody who has a dental degree.
Yep.
That you're right, it's a clinical thing. It's broken, I'll fix it.
Yep.
Or I'm going to come in and look, it's like taking your car in for an oil change, and you just think, oh my gosh, when I get in there, I'm going to have $2,000 worth of check marks that I need fixed immediately. You need those windshield wipers and they're only $80. Like there's all these things. That's how they're looking at a trip to the dentist. They just want to come in every 6 months, get it clean, and keep their fingers crossed that they don't need a crown, and then move on when they need to move on. What you've done is, I think, tied things that they may not associate with coming to the dentist. So now it's a bigger conversation, and it's a conversation starter. And I think, if nothing else, Gary, if you just said, do you snore? Which you shouldn't. Snoring is an indication of bigger problems. Do you snore? And they say, I don't know, why are you asking me? And you start that conversation, suddenly you're exactly right. It's a whole new thing that you understand and you can treat, that never would have come up.
Well,
Beyond,
Steve,
please don't let me have a crown, or please don't let me need a filling, or please don't let me need a crown. Let me get the heck out of here and go back to work. You've changed the dynamic of how they view you. And back to find the money, there's a lot of that money in your patients right now that they want to spend to fix a problem that they may think they have, but don't associate with you. So that's why I love it, is, if nothing else, it just starts a conversation beyond, hey, has anything changed since the last time you were here? And they say, I don't know, I got to get to the office. No. And suddenly you all go down the road happy, and nobody treats it.
yep. Yeah. And here's the thing, Steve, the hygienist, typically, when I first got started, they were just talking about Johnny's soccer game and shopping and trips and travel and the relatedness piece, but there was no systematic step-by-step process that began a dialogue to talk about the value proposition that a dental practice has, and then the symptoms that are treated. Because look, bottom line, people only look for solutions if they agree and know they have a problem. If you don't bring awareness and get acceptance to that problem, they don't search for you to fix it. And so that's what the missing element is. And when you get to the front side of that, people raise their hand and want to buy from you, versus you have to manipulate and persuade and sell. There's no selling here. All I'm doing is walking them down a path and being the advocate that they're asking me to be for them, because they didn't go to dental school. They didn't go to hygiene school. Our job is to bring that to them. And we just flipped the script using that one simple tool called the Healthy Mouth Baseline. And it's a game changer here. So the other thing is, I want to move to the keep the money piece, which this is the,
we found it, we got it. Now we want to keep it.
and the thing about it is, Steve, I got sick and tired. I don't know about you, but I don't mind reading P&Ls when they're mine. And my docs, 9 out of 10, they don't, no doctor said, man, I can't wait to wake up this morning and read my P&L. I mean, I DSOs read them all day, every day, it's because they're running a business. And I think that it needs to be, I think there's a balance here. You can't be obsessed with money and obsessed like DSOs are. And like, that's their purpose, for shareholders and take the money. But if you have a good heart and your purpose is, on a good day, we save a smile, and on a great day, we change a life, and you start stepping out of transactional dentistry and into transformational dentistry and really elevate the value proposition, there's so much dentistry to be done. You couldn't even get to it all. But now the problem lies in running a business. And and also, like, what is my business valued at? I never know. Like, doctors are not set up to win the game, because they learn about their valuation way downstream. They also, when it comes to expenses, Steve, it's too late. They're dealing with lagging data that's way too late. That's not actionable data. And so I got tired of reading P&Ls. I know docs hate reading them. They don't know what to do. So I created a plug and play system where you plug right into your QuickBooks, and you will know everything you need to know, and you'll never have to read a P&L ever again, Steve. How cool is that?
I love. Can you bring that up? Can you show the? And I've
Absolutely.
seen it obviously. So, but
Yeah.
you're right. There are two. What's interesting to me is profit. I always say profit is not a four-letter word. Profit is simply a measure of how efficient every dollar goes through your practice,
Yeah.
and your job is to. I mean, your job is to keep as much as you can. And it doesn't mean, taking it from a patient. It might mean efficiently buying your supplies. It might mean getting a fair reimbursement from an insurance company. It may be getting out of PPOs that you're actually losing money at and taking ones that you're being profitable at. So it's
Yep.
strictly, profit is purely the efficiency of every dollar that goes through your practice. And what I love about this, this abundance dashboard, more than anything, is the ability to just give it a quick glance every day. I love the little gauges that say, I'm doing okay. Now the back end of this, so you see how your practice is, but the back end of this measures you against a lot of other practices too, right?
Yep. Yeah. And that's the abundance score. So, by the
Yeah.
way, the name of this, we took the word abundance, which means more than enough, and dense, which is dentistry. So, more than enough for dentists. That's how we got abundance created. And the abundance score is a riff on the FICO score. So, the FICO score says how creditworthy you are related to other people. This tells you how you're performing related to other dentists across the US. So 0 to 150. This is a real life practice I'm plugged into, by the way. And they're at 131. So anything 125 is like super good. And it shows you your trending, and it's based upon your financial performance. You'll see this window right here, practice valuation. This is real-time practice valuation done year over year, December 2019 to December 2020. It was worth 4.85. Again, algorithm, general sense. There might be some nuances based upon, if you're in Vancouver, it's a little higher. If you're in San Diego, it's a little lower because it's a supply and demand thing. But overall, it'll give you a good snapshot of, like, docs are very surprised to see what their practice is valued at, and also how to increase that valuation. And then the biggest thing, which is the actionable piece to this whole process, is when you click here, as it relates to your practice. So I'm going to go to October. So in October, you can break it down by month. This practice did 512, so a high performing practice, over $6 million. Their expenses were really tight, really amazing. At 177, the profit was 335. Now that is ridiculous. I mean, but that's what happened in the practice. So I just want to do it annually through October. You can see where you get a longer landscape here, Steve. And I'm going to change the view of this. The practice income was 5.269. Expenses of 4.187, profit of $1 million. Now, we want to go, well, how do we get there? Well, we'll get back here, and, you click on income, and it's basically collections minus refunds equals net collections. A lot of people don't even know what the refunds are. They don't even understand that is existing. And then we can look at it annually, and we're doing pretty well here, right? Then we look at our expenses. So what I love about this is I just click on the expenses, and it just breaks it down for me and tells me exactly where we are. And I love doing the annualized year to date. It really tells me that, here's where I'm at. These are the areas, and I can break them down even further. You can see the trend lines. The expenses are up. That has to do with year over year comparison because of COVID. Obviously, we lost 3 months, and so it's comparing the year before. But really, you can see this is a very healthy practice, Steve. And it really allows us to really take a look in a brand new way of how we're doing as it relates to the overall expenditures. And then we can take a deeper dive. But you're now ahead of the game, because you're going, okay, I know I'm good for the month. I only need to take a deeper dive into the ledgers and get in communication with my bookkeeper, my financial, CPA, only when I see something really trending off. So this is a really automated daily check and balance. By the way, CPAs love this and doctors love it because they're not usually checking their CPAs. And if you go back here, you'll see that they didn't close out the month. So you can see, like, oh, okay, we have to really look at, our expenses haven't been closed out for the month. So that really puts a check and balance in between you, the business owner, with your bookkeeper and financial advisor. So it's a really great tool. And this is how you keep the money. If you don't have your attention on it, it's money with wings. You ever notice, Steve, there's this thing called Parkinson's law, that when your income rises, your expenses rise to meet the new levels of income because you think you have more money, but it's just you have more money temporarily. It's not like you're keeping the money from a profitability standpoint. So it automates profit. It really is simple, and it's really a powerful tool.
It's what's interesting is in the old consulting days, back in the very beginning, Woody and I would go visit a practice, and we would have that was the paper days. So you'd send them a little binder and they would fill stuff out. And I would say, give me the last, let me see your P&Ls. And they would say, hang on. And they would call the accountant and ask for their tax return from last year. And that was, because what the heck is a P&L? Again, it's profit and loss. It's money coming in minus the money coming out. And what's left over is profit. And the idea of a tax return is, first of all, if you're going to your tax return, that's money that you probably paid a lot of taxes on that you shouldn't have. So even if you're looking forward to the end of the year, and I'm just had this conversation before we got on at the beginning of November, I need to start managing profit through the end of the year so that I can do things that, maybe buy a piece of equipment. If I buy a big piece of equipment, or if I'm printing the magazine and I pay the printer on December 31st, as opposed to 1 minute later on January 1st, that is an enormous difference in taxes and money I get to keep versus send to Uncle Sam. So in keeping that money, if I pay a printer $100,000 on December 31st, that's an expense that comes off of my profit, and I just saved myself probably $36,000 in taxes, as opposed to paying them 1 day later. So I pay them 1 day later, and I pay 36 grand on that profit that I'm going to do anyway. So what I like about it is it allows you every day, if you want, and you can do this a lot of different ways. This comes out of QuickBooks, right?
Yep, right into, just patches right in. It's all secure. We have security all around this thing. You plug it in, it takes 5 minutes, and you're off. And by the way, you can share this with your reps if you choose, so that they can help you. There's a secure sharing process where your CPA is looking at it, you're looking at it. CPAs are like, at first they looked at this and they're going, hey, I'm going to be out of a job. Then they're like, hey, no, I could spend more time advising my clients, and I don't have to sit here and bean count the whole time,
They can say, hey, it's November 1st, and let's look at where you are and get it easily. And again, you don't have to have this. You can use QuickBooks. There are 1,000 reports in QuickBooks, all kinds of things, and other platforms like this, but there are 1,000 of them. And you really just need to get to the simple part of it. And I like the fact that you could sit down in 30 seconds at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, whatever, and you can look and say, all right, we're trending up, we're trending down. You can get to the end of the month and say, wow, how come our profit is less than it was last month? It could be seasonal, whatever it is. You're looking at it, like you said, from the front end. As opposed to it's already happened and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm a dashboard fan. That I'm an app fan. I like to be able to, on the ride home, open an app, look at how we did, look at how stocks did, look at how whatever did. I call them end of days, my end of day routine. And it's nothing more than just saying, all right, everything's on track. And so I realized, and you've done this many, many, many times. I remember years ago, it was spreadsheets were a miracle. And suddenly now you got spreadsheets. Today, it's like, oh my gosh, those spreadsheets are way too complicated. So I'm a fan of dashboards like that. And I appreciate you sharing that.
And we could do snapshots for people too, and really just plug it in and show them everything. And they're like usually mind blown, because the thing about it is, Steve, is this, you talked about even taxes. Like if you're the type of doc where like at the end of the year, you go, hey, I'm just going to have it. My bookkeeper's going to have it. He's going to give it to my CPA. And then you're like shaking your boots in Q1 going, what do I have to pay? You'll be ahead of all this. I've been able to mitigate legally hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes for people just because they were aware, like, hey, our profitability is sky high. There's ways to mitigate. There's R&D tax credits. There's like so many things that you could be doing that you don't need. You can legally take advantage of the opportunities that exist. With the government wants you to gives you these opportunities because they want you to invest in these things, and it's like free money. So often people like to get with us by the end of the year because they can buy their consulting package for the next year.
Right.
It's completely written off this year. They get the benefit next year, and then they have to deal with a new set of tax opportunities. And by the way, next year the taxes are going to be dramatically different with this package that's coming out. So you want to get done this year and maximize your opportunities that you have. Spend that's going to get you returns next year, and then next year deal with next year, because there's going to be opportunities to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to be in the new tax law, which is coming out.
Well, I think fundamentally it is, you can't fix it. You can't manage it if you can't measure it, is what they
Yep.
say. And this
Yep.
is a way to measure it on an ongoing basis. And if you're trending off, what's always interesting to me, Gary, is things like insurance. Suddenly, I hire a new person and, the world's going to change because they're doing insurance filing. And only at the end of the year do I realize that it was smooth because they were just writing everything off. Or it was really smooth because, they just did last year's fee schedule instead of negotiating higher fees. And it looks easier. But at the end, it can be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you don't even know that until you're looking at it. And like I said, I'm a big fan of dashboards. I'm a big fan of a 30-second glance, dig into it, and then drill down if I need to, or just say, awesome, we're on track of where we needed to be.
And it's mobile friendly. You drop right in.
Yeah.
It's on your phone, so it's not like it's going to take time up. You're sitting there waiting for, a dental appointment, your own dental appointment.
Right.
Just looking at it on your smartphone and know exactly where you are. So find the money, keep the money, find the money, get the money, keep the money. Stephen, we were going to keep this short, but I don't think we have the ability to do anything in 30 minutes.
No, we're trying, and again, we're kind of at a high level. As we promised, there's a link that'll pop up. It'll tell you how to get Gary's book. This is a first edition copy, so it hasn't looked like this since, the late 40s. Gary has, there you go. What are you in the seventh edition?
Yeah, we're on the 8th because I have to add she, him, her. I have to add all the pronouns because I got called out that I don't have pronouns for my hygienist. So it's time to upgrade, our next edition.
A good refresh, but all the concepts are in here. So get your free copy of the book. The other thing I want to make sure that anybody who's watching or listening knows is, as Gary said, he sets aside time for the Profitable Dentist readers, viewers, and listeners every month for just a conversation. So that's kind of our trade. We'll share Gary out there because of his experience and what he does. And like I said, I get plenty of emails that say, thanks, this was amazing. One of the things I do want to make sure that before we say this is there are 10 episodes from this book that you can go binge watch now. It's like we're on Netflix, Gary. You can get a bowl of popcorn and sit down and watch all 10 of them. Chock full of information. They go along with the book. And if somebody wants to challenge you and say, all right, this guy here, I'm in Des Moines, and there are 8 dentists up and down the street, and I'm number 9, and I've been doing this 20 years. And what you say is, a bunch of hooey. They can call you, schedule a call with you, and challenge you with that, right?
I love it. I live for it, but most Steve, 109 people took advantage this year of, the free half hour. And I got to tell you, man, I have so much fun with your people, your community, man. They are so, what I love about it is, the Profitable Dentist, obviously it's like the focus is on profit, but they're so kind, so fun. They were so generous, so amazing. And I'm so grateful that we have this relationship, you and I, and we get to go do this work out in the world. It's pretty awesome. So, Yeah, I look forward to seeing, this month's 10, and they should all be good because we really unpacked some really good content here of finding the money, getting the money, and keeping the money.
We have a lot of very seasoned sole practitioners.
Yeah.
And what I always like to say is these are things that if you got an MBA and you're, one of the big DSOs, they do these things every day. They have teams of people to do these little things.
Yeah.
And while you want to do the dentistry. So, I'm a big fan of coaches because as they walk you through your month, they focus on the things you don't want to focus on, or that you don't know what you don't know, you struggle to focus on. And you've done that 6,000 times. And I appreciate every time you come on and share little tidbits and nuggets with our listeners and viewers and readers. And I appreciate that today. There's a link, by the way, that you can click and schedule to get on Gary's schedule. And I know Gary's a busy guy traveling the world, and you still speak to a lot of dental events and dental groups. And so get your time, spend 30 minutes. And again, don't ask some easy questions, throw some hard balls. And Gary and I will talk about it over time. It's amazing that the what do you call them? Self-limiting beliefs that a lot of these doctors have. They just don't think they can do it. And, you blow that out of the water. So,
yeah. And Steve, little backdrop. I know a lot of docs are really having a hard time recruiting, hiring, and onboarding team members, and we are having breakthroughs in this area. For those of you that might be sitting there going, yeah, I can find the money, keep the money, and find the money, get the money, keep the money, if I just had people to do those things for me. And no kidding, Kelly just told me, she goes, she had 8 interviews today. And I asked her, I said, what is it? And she said, it's how the ads are written to speak to the primary purpose of the individual. And there's so many people that are working in places that are misaligned with the values and the vision of the existing practice they're in. And literally we had 27 responses, and she vetted them out, and she's got 8 on her calendar today. And we're seeing this all in our community. So please, pain is necessary. We can't find good people, right? And it's a global thing. It's happening in Australia. It's happening everywhere. You're not exempt. So you have a choice. You can either reinvent and restructure the strategy, how you go after people. And when you do that, people are responding. It's not like there's no people available for the jobs. It just means that you have to be more efficient and strategic on how and who you hire. And it works when you work it. I mean, all this stuff is proven, Steve. I mean, I'm a show me state guy. Like, show me that it works. I'm a Missouri guy. I love St. Louis. My wife's from St. Louis. It's like, show me. So that's the message for our listeners today.
So, and profitable dentist listeners and readers and viewers, call Gary, click the button, sign up for 30 minutes, no cost. Nobody's going to twist your arm. It literally, you can throw anything you want at him. And here's what I'm going to make a guess. Whatever you've got, he's heard it before. And one of the neat things that you do, I think, Gary, is say, oh yeah, so-and-so did that. Here, let me put you in touch. And you can call some doc who went through the same thing. They're in a little town, they're in a big city. They want to take 2 months off every year, whatever it is, you have somebody that they can at least talk to and gives them the confidence to know that it is possible. So, well, good.
Yeah.
Gary, you got a Garyism to leave us with?
Yeah, I'm gonna break this out. I've been wanting to break this out because I'm very careful with my language, but I'm gonna break it out. This is the message.
There you go.
So that's what.
Sometimes you got to be bold, right?
You know what? I've been wanting to pull that thing out when you asked me what my parting thought was, and it's like, that's what I want you to do. Go do epic shit.
There you
because
go.
You're amazing, and you can. Please.
Swing for the fence. Yeah, swing for the fence.
That's I like that one, Steve. That's my favorite one so far.
Gary, I appreciate it. And so guys, I would again encourage you, click the button, get a copy of the book. Doesn't cost you a thing, and click the button and try and get a half hour with Gary. And if you have any problems, you can reach out to me, and we'll find a way to facilitate it one way or the other. So Gary, We told them how to find the money, get the money, and keep the money. And in our bonus episode, you won't find it in the book, but a lot of the ideas are in there. So with that, we're going to wrap this one up. Profitable Dentist listeners, viewers, and readers, thanks for tuning in. Gary, thanks again, as always.